Okay, we're here with DJ Sakara, and let's see, and guests here for our interview with the Absolute Corruption Guild of Legends Shard. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn the interview over to DJ Sakara without any further ado. Go ahead, Sakara.
Well, hello everyone, and before we actually start, I want to apologize for the delay in starting this interview, but I've had a bit of a technical problem, and so thank God that I was here to come to the rescue. So was Plucky, for that matter. Plucky Duck, my little hero too. And so finally we're up and running, and we're going to be able to proceed with today's interview. And for this interview, will be our guests are the Absolute Corruption Guild of Legends, and we have the GM, Big Guns, and one of his council members, Ursula. So I'm going to ask each of them to say hello so that you guys can recognize their voice. So Big Guns, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself.
Hello guys, I'm the GM of, well, the abbreviation is PvP, but the guild name is Absolute Corruption. It's nice to be here.
And Ursula?
Hi, I'm just here for moral support and to hold his hand.
Which is very nice of you. And so, indeed. So, we're going to proceed with our questions. As stated, Big Guns is the GM. And my question to you would be, are you the founder of the guild, and how was it born, and what inspired you to create that guild?
Well, actually, I started it about 4 years ago. It was way back before I had quit the game. I quit the game for about a year and a half. And we had a pretty large guild on Great Lakes, and the abbreviations were AK back then, but it was the same guild name. Well, I quit the game for about a year and a half due to my career and all, and I came back and kind of got it jump-started again on Legends.
Okay, that's actually, I have two questions, but I'm going to ask for this one first. Why did you call it Absolute Corruption? What was the idea behind that?
Actually, I have no originality, so I had a bunch of guild members kind of come up with names, and that was the one we actually voted on. I guess mainly because we're kind of we're a PvP guild mainly. We don't do a lot of PvM stuff. We do now. We do like to make sure we have a good disparity of things we do, but for the most part, we're a PvP guild, so, we kind of wanted a name that kind of insinuated, a PvP type guild.
And so my other question is, why PvP as a variation? One would have expected you to say, like, AK, with maybe a sign in between or whatever.
Yeah, good question. Basically, what happened was, when I quit and came back, we had joined a large guild on Great Lakes, I won't mention, and after, wanting to find something new and more fun, we started the Absolute Corruption Guild again. The AK abbreviations were already taken, so we couldn't go with any kind of version of AK. So we figured we'd kind of go with PvP. It's kind of an insult to the guild that we were in previously, because they wasn't too much into PvP.
Okay. You see, actually, it kind of struck me as interesting when I first saw what abbreviation you guys went by, because there was a guild on Atlantic that was called PvP, and it just so happens that they were one of my enemy guilds, because I actually happened to run a FL guild as well, and they, after a while, quite a bit of fighting, they ended up leaving Atlantic and moving to Legends, which I thought was interesting when I saw your abbreviations. For a moment there, I wondered if you guys had any link to them, even though when they went to Legends, they called themselves, their abbreviation was PXP.
Yeah, actually, when we first came here, we were told, actually, a few people were confused with us. They thought that we wore that same guild. And actually, the GM of that guild that was on the other shard, he actually joined us for a short period of time to fight with us, with a few of his enemy guilds that were on Legends. So it's kind of funny you brought that up, because the GM of that guild was actually in our guild for a short period of time.
I see. And why did you decide to? Actually, this is actually a question from the GM of the oldest FAL-based guild on Legends. The abbreviation is FAL, who says hi, and who also wonders why you guys decided to Xshard to Legends.
There's a couple of reasons, actually. The main reason was GL was made up basically of maybe one large guild, and we were a part of that guild, BC. And when we left that guild, we had a small group of friends that we were playing with, and it was hard to really start off PvP-wise against such a large guild, because of course they hated us, and they really wanted to kill us bad. So it was kind of hard to do anything on a consistent basis with a small guild. So basically, we got larger and larger and started getting more and more competitive with them. Another guild had transferred over to GL to fight BC, FL, and we had a great time fighting them. I mean, we had really good fights on a daily basis, whereas with BC, it was hard finding fights with them. If it wasn't 30 on 10, you wouldn't find a fight with them. So it's a real boring shard. I mean, I'm sure you'll find that out if you interview anybody from GL. A lot of people are transferring from the shard mainly because of lack of PvP, lack of action. If you don't fight at Newgate or hang out in Luna Bank, there's nothing to do.
Yeah, we actually had an interview with the Black Company, and it was interesting, to say the least. And the reaction also of the people on the shard and the people that left the shard as well was enlightening, I guess, in many ways. But you were mentioning that your guild was originally more about PvP, and now you try to do a bit more of PvM. So what would you consider your guild's daily in-game routine to be? Like, what would be an average day for one of your members?
Okay, basically we're a PvP/spawning guild. We do a lot of spawns all day long. We look for fights, anywhere we can find them. Another thing is, the reason why I bring the PvM thing up is we don't try to go for just a big group of PvPers with large egos. We have a large variety of people in our guild. I mean, if you ever logged in, it'd be amazed. We've got women, we got kids, we got a little bit of everything in our guild. We're made up of a lot of different kind of people, and of course, they're going to want to do different things. So we try to cater to everybody's needs, if possible. Like with this new patch or pub that came out, Mondane's Legacy, we've been trying to do a lot of the quest and stuff, and so on.
And what do you consider yourselves as? Do you think you guys are an aggressive guild, or generally speaking, a peaceful guild? And by this I mean, if you stumble on a newbie or unknown guild group of people that you see spawning or just hanging out in a fell or whatever, would you systematically raid their spawn or PK them just for the heck of it, or because that's your policies or whatever? Or would you leave them alone and just go after people that are officially your enemies?
Well, basically, we're a very aggressive guild. I mean, like I said, one of my main things is we want to find action. We want to fight. I mean, for the most part, we're good sports about it. We res a lot of the people we kill and let them get back and get resed up so we can kill them again. But for the most part, we're basically, I would say, very aggressive guild. We don't get into the griefing as much as they do on Great Lakes. Some of the guilds over there get into griefing, where they try to just make your gaming experience miserable, not through PvP, but just through, acting kind of childish and foolish. We, on the other hand, like to try to get the most out of the game and enjoy it, through PvP and PvMing and stuff like that. But we're very aggressive. We have, most of our guild consists of reds. We don't hang around on blues all the time. We're basically on reds, mostly at spawns and horrors and stuff like that. We're always pretty much on reds. We like to be aggressive. We definitely are the aggressor on Legends, without a doubt.
And does that in any way slow down the, I guess my question would be, when you are this aggressive, I guess, towards newbies in FAL, do you think that maybe hurt the influx of new blood in Felucca?
Well, I mean, when we came to the Shard, I know we get the word Zerg a lot, which kind of confuses me, because when we first got here, the 2 main guilds or 3 main guilds on the Shard were much bigger than us, and basically bigger than we are right now. We've consistently stayed the same size since we've came to Legends. We haven't changed much at all. Of course, we've consumed a few people on Legends that want to join us because they like the way we do things and so on. But for the most part, I mean, we try to keep things as even as possible. I mean, we don't want to become one large guild that's running the whole show. We really don't. I mean, I try to stay away from that as much as possible. I try to have a kind of a strict recruiting policy, but, you know, of course, everybody's got friends and family and this and that, and you want to make everybody happy. So sometimes you're a little bit larger than you want to be, but for the most part, I mean, I don't think it's to the point where we're dominating the Shard 24/7. We don't sit here in ghost spawns all day and night and morning to try to prevent people from doing anything in teach away as in spawns or horrors and all that stuff. When our group mainly plays evening time and nighttime, so that's when we're going to be at our strongest force. We don't go out of our way to, you know, like I said, to dominate the Shard. We're not here to dominate Legends. We're not here to take over Legends. We're here to have fun. When we first got here, it was probably the most fun I think the guild has had, and a lot of us have played for 6-7 years, maybe longer than that actually. But it's the most fun we've had in 4 or 5 years in the game. It was amazing fun, just nonstop fighting no matter where we went, and it was such a change from GL that, you know, we got hooked. We enjoy it. I mean, we're spoiled now, you know.
And you know, actually, you kind of touched two topics that I wanted to ask you about. And I guess I'll just go right away with, what are your recruiting policies? You know, how does one go about joining your guild?
Well, like I said, we don't want to recruit anybody that's egotistical, that's self-centered, that thinks that the game revolves around them. It's a group game. I mean, everything's a group. When you can't win with one person, you know, you need a cross heal. You need group people. You need everybody needs to help out to win large fights. I mean, you can't do it with one person. So basically, we look for people that know how to get along with people. Of course, you know, in a large guild, you're not going to have everybody getting along. It's impossible. It's just not going to happen. But you can kind of make it to where people at least are, you know, they're sociable with each other. They're at least friendly with each other. If you don't like each other, just keep it to yourself and keep it out of game, you know. But for the most part, you know, we try to do the age limit thing where, you know, we wouldn't recruit anybody under 18, but then some people have their kids play, so of course we can't neglect them from playing, because, I mean, come on, if your daughter or your son plays, of course you're going to allow them in a guild with their parents. I mean, you have to almost. But for the most part, I've noticed keeping away from the younger age group, it does a lot better. I mean, I'm not trying to you know, say that all the young kids that play are, you know, they're not good, but just we've had some bad experiences with that.
Even though, from my experience, the younger ones, even though they definitely are a handful as a GM, God, I know, but they are also often the best PvPers.
Very true. Very true. They're very aggressive, you know. I mean, actually, of course, because kids also have a lot more time to play the game than us adults do. We have to work. Well, most of us have to work and so on. And the kids pretty much are on all day and night junkying. So therefore, they should be a little bit better. But you are right. In my experience, I have met a lot of the younger people in our guild are definitely our stronger PvPers, without a doubt. But I've also found that a lot of the older people in the guild they tend to create a lot of the drama, so to speak, within the guild too. I'm sure Ursula can probably elaborate on that if she wants.
Yes, I can, but I won't.
I can't blame you. Honestly, I think there is more drama in UO than in any soap opera. It's just insane, but...
Without a doubt. They should make a soap opera after UO, actually. They really could. I mean, GL was it's still notorious for its soap opera type of mentality, which is kind of hilarious. But that's one thing we liked about Legends, too, you know? I mean, you wouldn't run through you or through Spawn and have people talking about your personal life in game. You know, Great Lakes is a lot like that. It's kind of ridiculous, you know. It gets a little too personal sometimes, those guys on Great Lakes. I'm not trying to sit here and bash Great Lakes. I know I'm bringing them up a lot, but you have to understand I've played on Great Lakes for over 7 years. So, you know, I'm from there, and that's where I did most of my PvPing and stuff. But, you know, we're just having a great time on Legends. We really are.
And so you kind of have a age limit and whatnot, but what about former members of enemy guilds that would like to jump ship? would you consider recruiting them if they were to ask you?
Well, yeah. I mean, we all come from enemy guilds. Geez, before I joined BC on Great Lakes, I couldn't stand BC. I fought them for 5-6 years. I couldn't stand them. I despised them. And then I had a good friend that was, when I came back from the game, he was already in BC, and he got me to join. And here I was, part of BC, and I enjoyed it for the most part in the beginning, everybody that come from somewhere. They're going to come from an enemy guild or another guild or whatever the case is. Of course, some people have a really bad, background, so you know who not to accept, of course, in some cases. But, the way I look at it, everybody gets a chance. There's only so much bad they can do to your guild if you're not sure about them. Give them a chance. Why not? If it doesn't work out, oh well. That's the whole good thing about UO. There's so many different guilds. They all offer something different. You look around, you try something that you like, and if you like it, you stick with it. Boom, there you go.
True enough. And what do you think makes your guild different from the other Legend Fell guilds? And why would someone want to join your guild rather than another one?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I can tell you. I could go on forever. I'm going to give you the first couple of reasons, or the top reasons. I think, first off, we're a tight group. A lot of the people that are in our guild, they've been in it since day one. They've been in it for a long time. We have a good core of people. Like I said, a lot of us don't play for ourselves. We play for each other. We help each other out. We're a good helping guild. We don't, like I said, we're not an ego-centered guild. That's one of our reasons. Another reason is we're multifaceted. We don't just sit there at you and try to fight all day long. That's ridiculous. We try to do everything. We do quests. We do horrors on a regular basis. We do all the spawns. We do as much of stuff. Last night, for instance, we had 10 guild members sitting in Destard in Felucca. We're hunting dragons, trying to get the dragon scale things for a quest. We've never done that as a guild, but we did it last night. Something different, We had 12 guys in there doing it, I think, which is kind of funny. I sat back and was kind of laughing at the fact that we were all in there doing this,
Yeah, I totally hear you there. And for the record, I do not go to you anymore. It's just too aggravating.
Yeah, it's really irritating. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to lie. We do a spawn, we go through the gate, and you have that urge to click you and okay. And we do that a lot of times. And, of course, there's about 20 blues hovering around the guard. Well, not 20. About 10 or 15 blues hovering around the gate. And we just tend to try to fight them anyway, of course. And, of course, it doesn't always turn out the way you want to. But it's action. It's something to do sometimes. It creates adrenaline rush, And I play the game. Well, I'm going to tell you, the reason why I play the game for the most part is for the fighting. That's my number one. That's what I've always played the game for. I like the adrenaline rush. I'm very competitive. I love the PvP aspect of the game. But use okay sometimes.
And, I was kind of wondering, who do you consider currently as your biggest enemy on Legends right now? Or who would be your biggest competition?
We really don't have any. When we first joined the Shard, a lot of the guilds that were here basically dissolved and took off and went somewhere else. Like I said, we don't really have much. LD, when we first joined the Shard, Legends, we allied LD. And LD was in the top 4 or 5 guilds, size-wise, okay? And main reason why we allied with them is I have a lot of good friends that are in LD. I have a lot of good friends that are there, and I figured we'd just ally with them just because, we're friends with them. We don't want to fight our friends. Well, that lasted for, about a month, and we had to break the alliance, and that's when it was a lot of fighting going on because there was really no alliances. Everybody was fighting each other, and it was a lot of fun. Well, LD got rid of a few people that we didn't like, and we got rid of a few people that they didn't like, and we kind of re-allied again. Not because there was any threats. We haven't been threatened in a long time, basically. We did it because we're friends. We don't like fighting each other. So I think if anybody can really elaborate on it, if they fight us, you'll never see LD helping us. You will on a very rare occurrence. If they so happen to be in the same area, they will. But we fight our own fights. We don't call them for help. We didn't ally them for that reason.
Okay, and do you have any other alliances at the moment, or would you even consider reforming an alliance in the future?
Well, we've allied quite a few guilds since we've been here. I mean, we were allied with SWAT for a little while. We were allied with G. Actually, that worked out pretty good. The reason why we really broke that alliance, that broke while I was out of town for the hurricane. That broke basically because the LD had broke their alliance, and we just made sure we didn't have a huge alliance to fight a bunch of smaller guilds. But we didn't have a bad problem with their alliance actually. But we've been allied with a few guilds, 4 or 5 guilds since we've been here. And it's basically because one guild allies another guild, so you want to kind of even the numbers up, so you ally another guild, and that's mainly the only reason why it was ever done. Future alliances are always considered. But like I said, I mean, a lot of these guilds, I mean, they cried they want competition. When we got here, they all took off and left. I mean, we don't group any more than 10 to 15 people at one time. We never do. And a lot of these guilds were easily grouping that many people, so I don't know why they took off and left. It's kind of confusing, to be honest with you.
Well, I have someone here that's pulling his hair out saying that, oh my God, that PvP and LD are all but married.
No, we are allied right now. No, I did say we re-allied with them. Like I said, they've gotten a lot smaller, though, because they've kind of gotten rid of a lot of their players that they didn't care for too much. But like I said, we're friends with LD. But we don't go around holding hands. We do everything independently. Like I said, I'm sure if you kind of hung around on Legends for a little bit, you would realize that. Or any opposing guild would, of course, they probably won't admit to it, but it's the truth.
And have you guys been into factions at all? Or is that something?
No. Factions, I don't know what the problem is with that. I mean, I was playing the game when they first came out, and they were very popular in the beginning, And, I think that the big deterrent of factions is the fact that I don't know if this is still true, but I'm pretty sure it is. When you die, you have to wait 20 minutes before you lose skills for like 20 minutes or something like that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest deterrents of factions. I wouldn't mind getting into it. I mean, if somebody were to say, hey, start a faction guild and another guild and we're competitive, we would definitely do that just for the competitiveness. But it seems that nobody gets into it. I think it's kind of it's a lost part of the game that they had introduced a long time ago that they really never followed up on and tried to reinvigorate or to keep going. They just kind of left it on a back burner, so to speak,
Okay. Well, I know there really aren't all that many guilds currently that are doing factions except for the whole faction vendor business. But it would be nice to see some life brought back to factions, I think, on every show, especially if they could give a better purpose to it.
Without a doubt, variation is good. It's always good to have different choices, things to do. It's not good when there's as much as people argue about Trammel being introduced long ago, it was a good thing to do. I mean,
I hear you. Actually, I was reading your boards. This is like totally different topic, though. I was reading your forums, and I stumbled on one post where one of the posters was mentioning that he ran out of insurance money while fighting you guys, and his 2.6 LRC suit dropped. And one of your member, I believe it was Zergling, that his name was, returned the entire suit within 5 minutes of the incident taking place. And, just returned it, no questions asked, which for the record I think is really quite honorable. And I was wondering if you have a guild policy on that kind of thing. Even though, I mean, in this case, this was not an insure bug issue. It was just a guy ran out of insurance money. But, when somebody gets hit by the insure bug, do you guys have a policy about that, or do you just leave it up to your members' discretion whether or not they return the items?
Without a doubt, our policy is to return all items unless we've had a problem with the guild not returning our items. Like, we had a guild when we first got here. We lost 2 suits to them. They never returned a thing. So, of course, if they would have dropped anything, we would not return it, and we would just give the items to the member that lost their stuff. But every guild, other than this guild that I wasn't talking about, but they're not really active on the guild anymore. They kind of tucked their head between their tails and took off. But every guild that we've been kind of associated with they all have this policy. LD, G, FAL, all the guilds that I've encountered that this has happened, they've all, I mean, although that we talk a lot of trash in game and we really get into it and stuff and do a lot of fighting, the policy always is the return. I mean, this is something that's out of your hands. You can't help it. I mean, nobody knows why it happens and what it happens for, or whatever the case is. So it's kind of out of players' hand that they lose all this armor that they've invested so much time and money into. It's the right thing to do. And like I said, very rarely does somebody not return armor. And if they do, we hold it as a reflection on their guild, and we just basically what we do is we put the pressure on their guild master or their officers to go ahead and make this player return it, or else we're just not going to return armor to that guild then. I mean, it's kind of unfair. But like I said, we really haven't had a problem with that with any other guild. LD's been good with it. They've always returned armor as well as we have. Like I said, H2O, in the beginning, they were a little sketchy, but lately it seems like they have a bunch of good guys that would do the same. S, G, SWAT. I'm sure I'm leaving out a few other ones, but we really haven't had too many major problems with it, to be honest with you. Our policy is to return it. No questions asked unless we've had a problem with somebody not returning it.
Well, that's really awesome. I know, generally speaking, we seem to have something fairly similar on Atlantic, even though there's a few people that, if you drop your stuff in front of them, just forget about it. They're gone for sure. But I think it's really great because, it's one thing to fight people. It's another one to, when it was not intended to happen. I know personally we don't, like my own guild, I don't have a rule against somebody, like if somebody loses their suit because they ran out of insurance, at that point it's that person's stupidity, and if the person doesn't want to return it, then it's like a hard lesson learned. But if it's the insure bug, then I do put my foot down about it. But I think either way, even if you run out of insurance money, I do encourage my own members to just return the items, because you never know what's with ML. God knows we've been losing insurance through the nose, and you just never know when it's going to be your turn that your own suit drops because you run out of gold. And I'm sure at that point you'll be the one grateful that somebody else was like, I'm just going to return it.
Well, you're definitely right. I'm sorry, but I'm a firm believer of karma. I really believe what comes around goes around, and I swear, every time that somebody has kept stuff, it usually bites them right back in the butt, so to speak. Another thing we don't condone is people that scam people and so on. I've kicked a few people out. I've had a couple of GMs from smaller guilds come up to me and tell me that it was somebody in my guild, scamming them for certain things and so on. And I booted people out just for the fact that they were scamming other guilds. They'd get a character and have them into their guild, some lesser character, and pretend that they were in their guild, and they would loot them dry or so on. I don't go for all that. We're not here to try to scam people. We're not here to create fallacies and so on and try to take advantage of people. That's not the reason why I play the game, and I don't want my guild to take that kind of I don't know, that aura or that kind of personality at all.
Well, that's really great to hear. And by the way, the person that has been questioning a few of the things you've been saying is actually Plucky Duck, and he figured you knew.
I like Plucky. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. He's my sweetie. But he also mentions that he looted from an IDOC a personal blessed deed for a Lord Zerglings, and he says if it belongs to that member of yours, he will gladly return it.
I appreciate it tremendously. If it is, I'll find out and I'll have him get with him and stuff. But I appreciate that. That's really cool of him.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, on to the next question. For a long time, Legend was considered as a very underpopulated shard, and a lot of people figure they could make a quick buck by farming Legends, really. And whether it's through harrowers or any other way, but I do know that quite a few guilds figures that they could make a killing on Legends doing spawns. And have you? I guess the question is, have you encountered a lot of these guilds, the visiting guilds kind of thing? And how have they? If yes, how have they affected, I guess, the activity level or your own personal life on Legends?
Well, first I'll clarify our stance on that. We're not really here to make. I mean, our goal isn't to make money or become rich. I mean, we do spawns to get all of our gilded characters, scrolled out to have them, the best that they can be. That's why we do spawns. It's not really to make money, so to speak. I mean, the scrolls that we don't use, we sell as a guild, and we kind of we pour the money back into the guild, to the long-standing members and so on. As for guilds coming over here to make money. I mean, if they want, they can try. I don't see how it can be much profitable. I mean, they're going to have to do really early in the morning spawns to be profitable if they want to do it to make money. I just think my whole personal, experience with that, I think if a guild is solely there to make money and to become rich or something, I just don't think it's going to last long. I don't think that's the reason a guild should be created. It should be to have fun and fight and to have friendships with each other and to enjoy the game. I mean, if you're sitting there to make money, what you're going to do is you're going to encourage people to join a guild. They're greedy. They're going to. The only reason why they join the guild is to become rich or to make more gold. And if you're getting that's not the right reasons, to have a guild. You're not building a strong foundation for a guild. But that's the reason why people are joining the guild. So, it may be good for short term, but for the long term, it's going to prove to be disastrous for any guild, to be honest with you. And I think it's been proven over and over again here in Legends, actually. Like I said, I don't know what guild's making loads of money. I mean, we have a large guild. We don't make we make good money, but it's pouring back into our guild members. I mean, it's making their characters stronger, It's getting them all scrolled out and all statted out. So, as for making loads of money, I don't know. I think those days are long gone,
Yeah, I think so too. I do remember there was a time where everyone and their brother seemed to want to go to Legends, and I haven't really been hearing that much anymore, so I was kind of wondering what, had caused that, because a lot of people were going there not to actually sell their stuff on Legends, but just to go there, farm the heck out of Legends, and then go back to another shard and sell for top dollar. And I'm not talking necessarily for real cash, more, just to make gold. It's like go to Legends, like do Harrowers 24/7, go back to your home shard with 50 plus 25s kind of thing, and make a killing off of them kind of thing. But
well, I think what happened is absolute corruption's here now. So they have somebody that's kind of formidable. Between us and LD, I really don't think anybody's going to come in and get anything done. I mean, like I said, not that our sole purpose is to prevent people from doing that. I mean, people will be able to do horrors. I mean, I was talking to Dunbar. He's the GM of, I think it's EC. And they have done, I think he said they did 5 horrors last week. I mean, that's great. I mean, we're not here to prevent people from doing horrors, but for people that's going to come in and do a lot of them, it's not going to happen. Like I said, between us and LD, it's not going to happen. They're not going to get one off. They can bring whoever they want here. And we invite them. We hope they come. We heard that war's coming, and we really hope they come, because they were here when we first got here, and they were like the really big Zergling guild, and for some reason they left 2 months after we were here. I don't know why. I think their breedings were WAR, something like that. They took off kind of soon.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because that was kind of going to be my next question. How do you feel about X-sharding guilds? I mean, you have been one yourself, and I kind of understand where you guys were coming from, but you guys were basically looking for a new home, whereas there's a lot of guilds that X-shard not because they're looking for a new place to settle, but just because they're looking for a bit of action, and they're kind of like passing through. You have guilds for like FL that basically are just there to, dominate the shard for a few months, and then once they've annexed it to their empire, they just move on to the next one. And then you have guilds that just go to a shard to help out another guild. I've seen that quite a few times, where you have one guild that's getting decimated by the most powerful guild of the shard in question, and they just send out an SOS, to an external guild, and they just come in to help them fight their local war, and then they take off. What's your views on that?
First off, I think cross-sharding, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a good way to get the most out of your money that you pay for UO. I mean, like I said, when it was getting stale in GL. When FL left GL, like I said, that was the only guild that we could fight on a regular basis and have really fun fights with on a regular basis on GL. When they left, we knew it was going to get slow and we knew it was going to get dead, so we decided, hey, let's go somewhere. Let's all decide as a guild where do we want to transfer to have more fun, to fight people. And, of course, Legends was brought up because they had a lot of guilds over here. And I was speaking to some people over here, and they said that the fighting was really fun and blah, blah, blah. But first off, like I said, I commend FL for what they do. I think it's a great thing what they do, cross-sharding around, fighting different shards. It just creates a whole new level of excitement. It reinvigorates the game every time you cross-shard to a new different shard. It makes the game all new again because you're fighting different people. It's a whole new genre of people that you're fighting. So that's a great thing, I think. I think cross-sharding, the whole thing is wonderful, first off. Secondly, as we speak, we're looking around to possibly cross-shard and to go look for somebody to fight. That's going to be very competitive. That's the reason why we play, to compete and to have challenges, And, of course, like I said before, we welcome anybody that would love to come to Legends to fight. Like I said, we don't group 40 people like some of these Zergling guilds do. We only group 15 people, 10 to 15 on a regular basis. But I think cross-runs are a really good thing. I think it's good for the game. Yeah, it creates money for UO, but it's a business. They're here to make money. But it also creates some new excitement for people that play UO. It's I don't know how many different shards they have, but that's different places you can go to fight. That many different people. There's a lot of people that play UO. Why not try to fight them all or enjoy the game with all of them?
But the question that raises to me is this: if, for instance, when you have a guild like that's not losing the battle, rather not winning the battle, that's totally getting crushed, and they go out and, call in some buddies to help them win locally. Okay, fine, you won because your buddies came to help you, but then, when they leave, then what? It's like either things go back to what they were, or I just don't know. I don't know if the meddling is actually a good thing, or if you shouldn't settle your issues at home by yourself.
Okay, I'm kind of confused. Just go ahead and clarify exactly what you mean. I'm kind of confused about the last statement.
Okay, what I mean is, let's say you have H2O, I believe, is one of your enemy guilds, correct?
Yes, H2O is definitely one of the enemy guilds.
Okay, so now, between whether your guild alone can take them on, or whether both you and LD allied can crush them, let's say H2O says, okay, we've had it with this alliance that's basically crushing us, so we're going to call in some people. Let's say we're calling in BC to help us, and BC sends over 20, 30, 40 guys, whatever the number, and to come help H2O fight you guys. And so, we have a fierce battle going on to the point maybe where you guys are basically defeated, and H2O kind of takes control of the shard. And then, after a while, BC has their fun, and they're like, okay, time to go back home, and, they leave home. But after their departure, they still kind of wreck the balance if you want to call it that way, but they still kind of, messed with what your shard was, and now they left, and you guys are kind of left to rebuild what they meddled with. And so, is this just cool, or is this just, meddling that should not be happening?
I don't know, whatever it takes to be competitive, I think. First off, if your guild's strong enough, if it has good enough core, it's not going to matter, what happens. If you lose a few fights, it won't matter. It really isn't. I know how my guild is. We're just a very competitive guild. We're going to do what it takes to win. We're not going to lose for long if we do lose. I mean, it's kind of funny because you bring up certain different guilds. All these guilds that are probably complaining about us and LD being allied, they were once allied with us, And I mean, like I said, I'll be more than happy. I know those people are making comments about, that 15 of us, 15 of LD, but I'm telling you, every fight that I've been in the last week, big fights, we've never once called LD, and LD wasn't even there. They're not even a factor with us. We don't call them in. I would like them to point it out when we do, because we don't need LD to fight our fights. We really don't. It's not even an issue. We don't, like I said, we don't use the alliance to gain an overwhelming edge. We don't. We do it. We did that out of friendship. So people can say what they want. Most of these people have already been allied with us, and they no longer are. So I'm sure they wish they still were. But like I said, we don't need. Okay, if somebody wants to call another guild in, I'll get back to your question. I know I'm kind of dwindling from your point. I don't think it's a bad thing. If they want to call in BC, not to bash anybody, but that would be the wrong choice. It wouldn't happen if they called them in. But if they want to call somebody in, I think it's fun. If it creates big battles of 30 on 30, so be it. Whatever they want to do, whatever they want to do to have fun. We're not going to call anybody from another shard to come fight our battles. We're going to do it from within. We're going to become stronger as a guild to fight whoever we got to fight. That's just the way I see it. I don't know. The whole allied thing, like I said, when we first got here, it started with, the top two guilds of Legends were already allied when we got here. It was War and I forget the other one, G something or something. They were already allied, the top two guilds here. So when we got here, this has already taken effect with this alliance stuff. This shard seems to depend on alliances a lot. So, you do what you got to do to even numbers, and you just go from there with it. I don't think it ruins the shard so much. I don't know. It's kind of a difficult question to answer, actually. I don't know if there's a right answer or not,
There is no right or wrong answer. It's really more, your own views. And I guess you did answer that, and we actually happen to share our views on this. I don't believe you should bring in other people to fight your battles. I think whatever battles you're going to be doing should be done locally. And if that means recruiting more people into your own guild, sure, but it should be people on your own shard. I don't think you should be going out there, bringing in people to fight local battles. To me, especially if it's people that are not going to be staying, then you're not really solving anything because it's a temporary fix. In my opinion, while you have like those, these extra guns to help you fight, then yeah, you're doing good. But when they go back home, then what? So.
Well, not only that, though, I think another reason why it's bad is because you bring in somebody from another shard, they don't know your guild, they don't know there's a lot of people in your guild, so it's not going to create any kind of unity. If anything, it's going to create a lot of problems. People are going to be maybe jealous, or they're not going to trust these people. It creates too many problems. So there's just too many things that are wrong with, recruiting from outside the shard to get people to help you out. I just don't think it's a good thing whatsoever.
I hear you there, and I fully agree on this one. But it's not about my opinion, but I just wanted to know what your take on it was.
I like to make a point, too. I am so surprised how quiet Ursula is. She's been, I'm sure everybody in the guild can attest to this. And I've been Trilla, it's kind of hard to shut her up. I'm surprised how quiet she's been throughout this interview. I've really got to applaud her.
Now, that is such a lie, and you know it.
I have been wondering about that, too. I was like, maybe she's just shot.
I thought I heard her snoring for a second, but maybe she's awake.
I'm just reading what's going on in IRC. It's kind of nice to have an eye on what people are saying in there.
That's another thing I wanted to kind of bring up, just her accent. Obviously, she's not from America. Our guild's full of, we got Canadians, we got people from New Zealand, from England. We have a pretty good variety of types of people too. We're not like a bunch of skinheads that are kind of one-sided here. We cater to everybody.
Canadians for the win, and you can tell your guildmate that I'm still the latest Canadian that plays UO. So there we go.
Oh yeah, I remember that post. Yeah.
Yeah. Gee, actually, before I move on to the next question, I just wanted to remind everybody, the people that just joined us, that we are interviewing the Absolute Corruption Guild of Legends, and that if you have any questions or comments, you are more than welcome to post them on in our IRC channel, and I will gladly forward your questions to our guests. So,
please.
And Ursula, you don't have to be shy. I do bite, but only in real life, so you don't have to worry.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good to know.
And so, since we've been talking quite a bit about PvP, not the guild, but PvPing and such, and I was just wondering, how do you feel about the current state of PvP? Do you think there are imbalances, or that certain classes are overpowered, or generally speaking, are you pleased with how things are going?
I'm pretty sure anybody will attest to this, that, of course, archers are way too overpowering right now. It's pretty obvious. It seems that there's always a certain character that's overpowering. Actually, right before they had, they boosted the archer's capabilities, it was pretty level. I mean, it was pretty even. You could pretty much make any kind of character and be pretty good at it. You could pick whatever template you want and be solid at PvP. But now, yeah, they need to make a few changes, obviously, and I'm sure that's going to be agreed on 90% from 90% of the people that are probably listening. Archers are just way too strong. I mean, it's just too easy. They shoot too fast, and they hit for too much power. I mean, it's just really, it's kind of ridiculous. Not that I mind. I mean, that's fine. I don't mind fighting them. You do what you got to do. But I really think it's a little imbalanced right now. I think that's really the only thing they got to tweak is the archers. I think everything other than the archers are pretty even killed, to be honest with you. That's my opinion now.
And how do you feel about mages currently? Don't you think they're kind of getting the shaft? And the reason I'm asking is because obviously nobody's going to question, well, except the stealth archers themselves, but I think nobody else will question the fact that archers are definitely overpowered, and yeah, I do hate them with a passion. But when you look at a Dexter with 160 dexterity, some of them, as I heard it, can even get to almost 200 dex. They swing nonstop with max HCI. What are the odds of a mage to actually get a heal off? It seems that everyone and their brother is getting, every Dexter archer is getting an insane boost to their swing speed increase and their hit chance increase, whereas the mage is stuck at 2/6 faster cast, which means an archer can hit you twice for 70 damage before you can even get a small heal off. And I'm not talking about a greater heal, I'm talking about a small one. So don't you think they need some love there as well?
Yeah, well, definitely. First off, the thing with swing speed, it's kind of overrated, mainly because there's a cap on how many times you can swing per second. I think it's 1 time per second you can swing a weapon or you can shoot a bow. So it doesn't matter if your dex is 200. If you carry a dagger that swings, I think, has a 55 base weapon speed, you're still only going to swing 1 time per second. Now, the problem is they should put a cap on the healing times for Band-Aids. I mean, people with over, 200 dex, they heal within 1 second, and it's a little ridiculous. I think the cap should be around 4, maybe 3. Another remedy they could do, mages, they definitely are having a hard time. I mean, I just finished my mage because I had to put parry and DCI and wrestling. I had to make him a totally defensive character just so I wouldn't get bombarded by armor ignores from archers, Well, it helps. I mean, don't get me wrong. You still get roped pretty much, but the only way to counter it really is, of course, max DCI, parry, and wrestling and so on. But I think, and I've heard this from quite a few people, one thing they're trying to remedy this with is bringing back 4/6 casting for mages, which that's great. I think that would definitely even it up. I would imagine with the healing times and all that stuff that Dexters have, that would definitely help out a lot. But I think that where they should really fix it at is basically they should nerf the arching a little bit to where you're not hitting people for 100 hit points, which is kind of ridiculous on just because you honor them. And I think they should nerf the healing times. I think that would do it because I can fight any Dexter on my mage without a problem. Now, if it's an archer, then it's kind of like potluck. You're kind of hoping and praying if they hit you with that first armor ignore that your graded heal comes off before they nail you again, or if they miss. So the mages are definitely having a harder time. I see a mage on screen, and my eyes get big, and I start drooling. I can't wait to go kill him. But but for the most part, I think there should be, like I said, the remedies would be, like I said, either change the casting from mages to 4/6. Because now they have so many different artifacts, it's quite easy to accomplish that now, which is good without trying to spend $300 on eBay to do it. You can do it just by farming a little bit. But I really think the changes they should make is capping healing times and just nerfing archery a little bit. That's my opinion on that matter. I think a lot of people feel the same way for sure, but that's how I would change it if I had the capabilities of doing so.
You definitely have my vote in this one. I don't know if I would dare hope for 4/6. I know even with just 3/6, I would be a lot happier than I currently am. I think that right there will make a big difference. And you're right. 1 second heal with a Band-Aid is ridiculous because there is no way in hell a mage will ever be able to accomplish that. With casting a greater heal, because a Band-Aid will heal pretty much as much, if not more, than a greater heal could. And, they can do that in 1 second. There's no way a mage can match that. And so I would definitely like to see, I would like to see the Band-Aids being slowed down and the faster cast being increased. And, yeah, I think that would make a big difference.
Well, definitely, without a doubt. I think that's really one of the major issues is the healing times for Band-Aids. I've always, on all my decks, I've always had 4-second heals. I feel quite comfortable with that. I've never, I didn't want to alter my suit to get 200 decks on it just so I could heal every 1 second. I know it sounds tempting and all, but I'm comfortable with 4-second heals, so that's what I have in all my decks.
And besides champ spawns and factions, you, even though I don't really consider you a PvP venue, more like a gank area, but besides these three, are there actually any other venues on Legends for people to get good PvP actions, or do you think OSI needs to come up with something, devote more resources or something to developing PvP further?
Well, if you look at it, that's really the only other places. That's one of the only places to go. The only thing they could do is to make it, of course, to where Felucca used to be a long time ago. You could attack anybody you want. Well, actually, what they could do is make the cities, no guard zones. That way you can attack anybody around gates. That would alleviate gate fighting, and then, of course, you can attack anybody around banks. But then what's going to happen, of course, is people are going to start banking, and Trammel. But at least if anybody comes into Felucca, they're going to have to fight. They're not going to be able to run to a guard zone. They're not going to be able to, run for cover. And well, another thing they need to tweak is the flagging thing. Being able to heal somebody, and run into your house. Flag is kind of. They just put a Band-Aid on that thing. How they were supposed to fix the flag issue. If you attack somebody, you couldn't run back in. Well, they didn't fix it to the point where if you healed somebody that was attacking somebody, you can't go in. They can still run inside. So it's kind of, there's a few things they could do to help encourage it. But as a whole, really, that's basically what PvP revolves around now is spawns. That's where I try to encourage it because, most of these spawn areas are out in the open, in big open fields, and there's no greater place to fight at than there. It's nice open areas. It's large enough to where you can find rallying spots to heal you, to res your people and heal them up and stuff. So, I don't know if there's anything more they can do to encourage, more PvP or different kind. The only other thing I can think of is maybe if they had some type of tournaments on a weekly basis that they would have, but they would have to be pretty strict and regulated pretty closely because the ones they've had recently, the GMs or whatever the case is, they were kind of crappy, so to speak.
Yeah, and the problem with most of these tournaments is that you get insane lag, and then it kind of sucks for people with slower connections. I guess it might be more fun if they had a system that was maybe a bit more similar to what they have in Guild Wars, where you just do your fighting on your own. You can challenge pretty much anyone, anywhere, whatever. And there's actually a ladder where you can see who ranks higher and whatnot. I think, you know how it is. PvPers have big egos, and they like being the top guy. And there might be a lot more action going on.
Well, egos. I'm joking. No, I'm playing with you. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, actually, you know, the funnest, I think the game was at its peak when warring other guilds was at its highest peak. You know, you used to be able to take a look and see how many guilds, you know, how many wars you had for your guild. I mean, that was the funnest part, running around and seeing orange people. I mean, that was the funnest time that I've ever had in the game, you know. Because then, you know, if they accepted it, you could fight them anytime, anywhere, wherever you wanted, you know, and that was awesome.
Yeah, but the problem at the same time is when you have guilds, like for instance you were mentioning your own guild where you have a variety of templates of people that play that are part of PvP, and some of your members may not really be all that much into PvPing, and therefore, you know, when you're orange, it makes you vulnerable at any time, anywhere, and that could actually hurt your guild, where you have some members say, well, you know, I love you guys, but I'm leaving because, you know, I don't want to be a target wherever I go all the time. You know, if I'm in Tram or whatever, I want to be at peace.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying at that point. Like I said, there's a happy medium somewhere, but I don't think they've really achieved it yet. But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying, because we tried warring a few people, and that was one of the major complaints, you know. My tamer was sitting at the bank, and I got killed by 3 guys, you know. I mean, I understand exactly that point. It doesn't make sense, and I wish there was something that could be achieved to where, you know, that could, I mean, actually, you know, basically what you could do is just, you know, not be in the war stone. I mean, if you have a character that really doesn't like to fight a lot or whatever, just, you know, they can be guilded so easily now. That the new guilding structure that they have, I think, is great. And it's easy to re-guild and guild people now. You don't have to worry about war stones and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's just slightly inconvenient. I just wish you could actually ally a warring guild without getting that, you know, this guild is at war, blah, 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 or you're a different faction or whatever. You know, and this way you could be allied to a non-warring guild, but then without getting all that whole beneficial act thing. It's so annoying. I really hate that message. Cannot perform beneficial act. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Especially when I see people that are in factions, and let's say you're going to Doom, and that person dies, and you can't res them, or you can't heal them, because they're in factions. I think it's kind of stupid. There should be areas where, you know, the faction tag should not affect you. Because if you're in Doom, I don't think you're you know, into factions at all at the moment. And so the whole beneficial act should not matter. But that's just my 2 cents.
I totally agree. Definitely, without a doubt.
And so we talked about changes needed to PvP, but how about the current gem spawn system? Do you think it is fine as it is, or do you think it should be revamped or given some kind of a boost?
Well, I mean, one boost that it needs is, I don't know about anybody else, but the scrolls have been pretty crappy, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of times we get all, you know, 10 scrolls. I mean, we very rarely get 15s and 20s on a regular basis sometimes. But as for changes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what could be done to make it better. I mean, I don't know how you can make it any better, really. I mean, unless you got more scrolls or whatever the case is. I don't think they're too difficult, and I don't think they're too easy. You need to, you know, have I think the whole purpose they did that was they wanted to make it to where you need a group of people to do them, to create group fighting, to create group, you know, interactions, you know, and I think they achieved that. You know, you can't do a spawn unless you have, you know, a group of people. So, as for making it better, you know, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I wouldn't know how they could, to be honest with you.
One thing that they did add that probably helped with champ spawns a lot is the ability to remove ghosts from the champ spawn areas. Now it's encouraging people to actually physically run in and check the spawns themselves rather than just log on a ghost character and run around, get a ghost count, count of how many people are there and then log off again. Now, just boot them off of the server, send them to a shrine, and, it's just so much easier now.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to have gotten rid of those ghost cameras. That used to annoy me a lot. It's like you're doing spawn and then they're just sitting comfortably, safely, at a distance and just watching you work the spawn, and just like minutes before the champ pops, all of a sudden they just come pouring in. Whereas being able to get rid of the ghost, now they have to come in earlier, and we have a better chance of actually wiping them out before the boss, the champs, pops. But I guess I was thinking more in terms of how to, attract more people to it now. I mean, champ spawns have existed for 3-4 years now or something, and it's pretty much been the same scrolls the entire time, except, when Bushido and,
Ninjutsu.
There we go, Ninjutsu, thank you very much. My brain just went, blank.
Well, supposedly they added lumberjacking, but I have yet to see, it was just a rumor, I guess, because I haven't seen one lumberjacking scroll, but they have added spell weaving, of course, too. But that's really the only new ones that you mentioned, really.
Yeah, and so, in a way, I guess the market really isn't what it used to be at a certain time, since everyone and their brother already has eaten pretty much all the scrolls they could use. I think for most people, 110s or toilet paper, we don't even bother with them anymore. 90% of the time we just trash them, or we just go to Haven and give them to newbies. But I guess put something in to, make it enticing again. I don't know that any new member, I don't know that there are too many trammies that really want to venture into Felucca, because, there's nothing that really entices you. I know when I started my own guild, I was hardcore trammie, and I started my champ spawn guild because, I wanted to try out that new stuff, and I wanted to get my own power scrolls, because there was no way in hell I was paying 15 mil for a plus 25 stats. And that was basically what, attracted me to Fel. But now, if I was a trammie today, would I want to go to Fel? Not particularly, since I can buy most plus 25, most power scrolls for really low price, and I don't know, the enticement isn't there. Whereas maybe if they introduce something new, maybe new loot or whatever, might make it more interesting to me.
Yeah, true. I think, what I've noticed from a lot of people, people that have characters that are already scrolled out, but they haven't never done a spawn, they like the actual, the excitement of doing the spawn itself, to figure out how you do it, how it works, and all that stuff. The actual system, of getting the 6 skulls and doing a horror and all that stuff, So, yeah, they could do something to encourage more people to cross over, without a doubt. Because, obviously, Trammel is where all the money is being made and so on. So, I would like to see more of these people venture over into the wild side, so to speak. We just had a couple of extra people, Plato and Tanis. These guys have never ventured in Felucca, really, their whole gaming experience. And we just finally, they were a little leery and a little scared, but we finally had them venture out in Felucca and start fighting with us, and they're enjoying themselves a lot, they die a lot, but they're enjoying it. They really are,
Yeah, I guess the thing is, when you look at the whole Fel spawn, a lot of people go yeah, it would be nice to try it. But then you try it and you get spanked. And then you're I guess I'm just going to go back to Tram and buy my power scroll, which is really quite affordable when you think about it. Whereas if you put because I know if you take Atlantic, because I can't really speak for Legends, but I know Atlantic was pretty dead when the whole factions started becoming really dumb and boring. People just stopped playing factions, and Fel was pretty much dead. And then champ spawns came in, and all of a sudden you had this huge influx of new blood, and you know, to a certain extent it's dying down because everyone's like been there, done that. Like, give us something to make it more interesting. Again, and so I don't know. Right now, I guess everybody's in the whole UML thing, but I don't.
Well, I think one of the things they could have did with this new thing with the elves and stuff, they could have made a lot more of these quests done in Felucca. You know, they don't have to put everything in Trammel. You know, I mean, if they would put some of the things in Felucca, it would encourage more people to come to Felucca. You know, I mean, I think sometimes they're a little one-sided when it comes to add new pubs and so on. They tend to be a little Trammel heavy. I know that the populace probably hangs out in Trammel, but like I said, I guarantee you, a lot of these people would love to venture into Felucca and, you know, and do things there as well. And I think that's one way of doing it. It's just, you know, when you're introducing a new pub or a new, whatever the case is, new lands or new dungeons, put them in Felucca. I mean, why not? You know, put a new champ spawn there too as well, with new scrolls or whatever the case is. I mean, that's what they should do. But, you know, I'm not part of the dev team or whatever, so I have no idea who does all the thinking and decision making for them.
Yes, indeed, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, I know that they added a couple of the dungeons. Well, actually, more than just a couple of the dungeons, but they added a few in Felucca, and that's my next question to you. You mentioned earlier during the interview that your guild has been doing some of the quests. I'm assuming you guys have been doing some of the peerless bosses as well, and I guess there's two questions to this. The first one would be, how much has this new expansion, these new quests, affected your activity level in Fel? Do you guys spawn just as regularly as you used to, or have you put champ spawning and harrowers a bit on the ice?
I'd say it's definitely cut our spawning on a lot for sure. The first couple of weeks, of course, I mean, we very rarely did any kind of. Actually, the first couple of weeks, I was kind of unable to play, so you know that's when the expansion just came out, and basically everybody just basically did quests and try to get all the new items. What we do now really is people that don't have, like for instance, the Pendant of the Magi, I think it's called. People that don't have that, we encourage them to do the quest with people that are very familiar with it. As long as they help do the quest, you know, we make sure everybody in the guild gets the Eye of the Travesty in order to go ahead and make the pendant. You know, we're trying to get everybody, you know, the same equipment, you know, through the guild. But yes, our spawning is cut out dramatically. I mean, we do, well, not recently. The last couple of nights we've been doing a lot of spawns, basically because we're kind of getting tired already of the new quests. Well, we haven't done all the quests, but, you know, we've done a lot of them. I'm still not familiar myself with a lot of the new stuff. I mean, I've only been back for about a week now, so I'm still trying to familiarize myself with a lot of the new stuff. I have yet to really, you know, to figure out a lot of new stuff out. So it's kind of new to me yet, to be honest with you. Ursula can probably elaborate a lot more on this, I would imagine.
Actually, no, I can't, because I wasn't playing a whole lot myself over those past few weeks. Unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Really?
Well, it's actually interesting because I think the same pattern has happened pretty much everywhere. It was the same for us. We've been doing this a lot, and yeah, the Pendant of the Magi, that is the correct name. We've also been doing quite a bit of the travesty. I'm getting an overdose of it, as a matter of fact, to help guildmates get it. But I guess the other question then would be, have you guys been doing a lot of these peerless bosses in Fel, or have you actually been doing them in Tram?
Actually, we haven't done anything. I haven't done many at all since I've been back. I think the majority of the ones that they've been doing are the travesty ones. Like I said, I still don't know much about the ones that are in Felucca and stuff. I'm trying to get some of the people that are familiar with it to kind of start leading some groups up to do them, because, you know, just to find out what they're about, just to do it, just because it's new, and see what happens. I heard they're pretty rough and pretty hard. You know, you need a good group to do them. But I have yet to really dabble in that, to be honest with you. I'm trying to find people that are informed, or, you know, that know enough about them, so we go in there somewhat organized. We don't go in there, you know, with our heads cut off and all die instantly. and so on. So I really don't know a lot about the ones that are in Feluke yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was interesting because there's a lot of the Felucan Fel guilds have been doing these quests in Tram, and I just thought it was a little bit ironic, especially considering sometimes you get some very, very long waiting times, just because so many people before you already have their key and are waiting to go in and fight the boss, and there's only one group that may fight the boss at any given time, pretty much like a harrower. And yet, every time we do one of the Peerless in Fel, there's never anyone there. And I'm like, interesting. So I was kind of...
Honestly, I didn't even know there was one in Fel you could do the same thing. If I'd have known that, we'd be doing that one too. Like I said, I'm still kind of dumbfounded with all this, so I have to learn a lot about the new stuff, to be honest with you.
Well, it's not all of them. It's most of the ones in Trammel are mirrored. Actually, all the ones in Trammel are mirrored in Fel. But like the Travesty is in Takuno Island, and it's only there. It doesn't exist in Fel. So the Travesty, you have no choice but do it in Trammel-based facet. And same thing with Bedlam. Ursula, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we haven't noticed on Legends as such queues, so to speak, waiting, to go and fight the Peerless, because there just isn't the population to have to queue up and line up for them. So I guess we're kind of lucky on the shed.
Oh, wow. You definitely are, because I can speak on it for Atlantic, and good God. Seriously, the time you're waiting, especially for Dreadhorn, because Dreadhorn is like, in a way you could call it Dakun. Well, both Travesty and Dreadhorn, once you really know how to do them, you could consider them as Dakun of the Peerless, because it's a joke.
Yeah.
And you have lineups.
Carry on.
Literally. You do have lineups. You have sometimes people that are luring onto other people that are waiting at the altar just to get you killed, so they can make sure that they get the place before you. So it's not. Oh yeah.
We have sort of seen that a wee bit at Dreadhorn. I mean, I was over there, sort of, playing around with the swoops for a few days there, and I would notice, 2 or 3 different guilds all lined up at the altar there, trying to get across, and there would be spawn for miles. There'd be ghosts running around. It was an absolute nightmare. I mean, I was just kind of glad that I wasn't part of it at that time.
Yeah, it can get pretty crazy at Dreadhorn, because it's so easy to create more spawn by walking through that little swampy area, and get that malefic, however you pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm not English. The spiders, yeah, that and virulent. Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's like no matter how many times you tell people, please do not run through the swamp area, they just keep on doing it. Sometimes they're just running for their lives and they don't realize that they're running through it, but they just create more and more and more and more spawn. And next thing you know, we're overrun and people are dying left and right. And these things run at such a ridiculous speed, and they bleed, dismount, and DPU, so you're gone.
Oh, exactly. And, they're not all that easy to take down either, unless there's a group of you to do it. I mean, you cannot solo these things. Well, I've never seen anyone solo them.
Well, if you're a bard, you actually may get away with it. I know that's what saved me a number of times. That's when you don't fail on your provoke, but provoking them usually gives you the breathing room to go and viz heal or do whatever, get the heck out of there.
Exactly.
But my next question, actually the next question is not my own question. It's a question that Viceword normally asks every single one of our guests, and since he can't be with us today because unfortunately he is in Texas and he's dealing with all the hurricanes going down there at the moment, and but I will ask the question for him, and it's regarding the pre-UOR shards, and I need both of you to answer that, and it's basically, would you, if if EA was tomorrow to create a pre-UR shard, would you go there? Would you play such a shard? And I'm going to ask Big Guns to answer first.
I mean, I guess you're saying pre-Ren, obviously, with the way it used to be. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Correct, pre-Renaissance.
I mean, this has been an ongoing thing. I mean, ever since I've been playing a game, these people that haven't been able to adapt to change and play to the game's current standards, they tend to want to live in the old days. And you always hear, oh, back in pre-Ren, or back with precasting, I was this, I was that. But games change. I mean, there's a reason why UO has been around for as long as it's been around. It's because it's changing. It's always changing. And that's the reason why it's been around that long. A game gets stale, they usually do something to change it to make it more exciting, to make it more, appetizing. I wouldn't. No, I mean, I played pre-Ren, and I enjoyed pre-Ren. I mean, I really did enjoy it. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm playing the game the way it is now, the way the majority of the people are playing, the large majority of the people. I know they would probably get a handful of people to play it, but it would not be anything like it is now. I mean, I just think you're getting too different with things. If you're making different charge with different rules, I just think you're getting way off course. I think it should center around the way the game is right now, and just kind of go from there with it. I wouldn't do it. No, personally, no, I wouldn't play a pre-Ren shard.
Okay, fair enough. And how about you, Ursula? Would you?
Well, I didn't actually start playing until, I think 3 months after Renaissance came out, so I really have no idea what it was like pre-Ren. So really, I can't really give you an answer to that. Probably no.
And I guess my question would be then for Big Guns. You've played pre-Ren, and have you ever played Siege?
No, I haven't. This is the only game I've ever played. I'm not really big into online gaming and stuff. A friend turned me onto this game 7 to 8 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I've never played Siege Fearless. Sorry.
Yeah.
It tells you what I know. It tells you how much I know. I know nothing about all these games and stuff. I'm kind of illiterate when it comes to computer games.
Yeah, I was wondering about Siege Perilous, because, we're going to actually have an interview with a guild from Siege in a couple of weeks. I have to be honest, I can't wait, because I'm very curious personally about Siege Perilous and the people that play there on a regular basis. And I was going to ask you if there was a difference, if to you saw a difference between that and a pre-Ren. What were your chances, I guess, of playing a pre-Ren shard versus playing, I'm sorry, I'm looking at IRC and I'm going, huh? Between playing a pre-Ren shard and playing Siege. I don't know, apparently some people are having a hard time with my mic, but my mic is not acting stupid, I don't think, unless I'm just being stupid with my talkback button. I don't know.
You sound good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, apparently it's not my fault, but oh well. Okay. So that answers the pre-UR shard. But you were commenting about how the game has changed, and that's how people should just play it. So are we to understand that you actually like the way the game is evolving? Because a lot of people, we're getting all kinds of different sound from the different people playing. Some of them are screaming that the game is going down. I'm not going to use the word I was going to use, but it's going down the toilet. Whereas others are saying, well, it's actually, I like the way the direction it's taking. And some people are just like, whatever. So how do you feel about the current state of the game?
I know. I think it could be much better, definitely. I think there's a lot of changes they should make. I mean, we've already talked about a few of the PvP ones, but I think UO has already seen its better days, without a doubt. Now, granted, there's a lot more competition out there. Of course, the game is graphically challenged, I mean, that's been since day one. A lot of the games, that's basically what a lot of these new games have on UO, is that the graphics are so much better. But, the same thing you hear from everyone that goes off and plays WoW and all these other games is that the PvP is not the same. It's always much better on UO. But the graphics suck. I don't know if there's any changes they can make to better that, which I'm sure they probably isn't. But, for the most part, yeah, it should be better. I'm not completely happy with the game, no. I think they could encourage, a lot more Falucan type stuff, PvP type stuff. It used to be just so PvP. I'm just so used to it to where it was so PvP oriented that there was no such thing as a tramway. You used to be able to run from city to city through the forest, and you could find somebody hacking wood to kill or somebody mining constantly. It was an ongoing thing. It's just the game has changed so much. But like I said, I definitely think the game has seen its best days. Not to say that it can't change for the better, but no, I'm not overly happy with it right now. No, it's just a game that I played, for 7-8 years that I'm comfortable with, and that's probably the main reason why I've stayed with it so long. To be honest with you.
Honestly, I don't know. For me too, the game has changed a lot, and yet I can't really think of any other game I would rather be playing than this one, even though sometimes I'm like, my God, this is so not the game I started playing originally. And yet,
definitely.
And yet, I don't think there is another game out there that has the kind of diversity that this game offers, where you can do so many of the things that you can do in this game.
You're right. You're definitely right. And, I think another large part of it is, over the course of time, you get to know people. And a lot of people that play the game, and therefore, it's not only the game that you're comfortable with, but it's the people that you're playing with, that you hang out with in Ventrilo all day. There's just so many different factors that go into it.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess our interview is coming to a close very soon, and I would like to go back to your guild a little bit for the last few questions. And this one is actually regarding something you had said earlier, and it was when you were talking about X-sharding. I know you guys have done it the first time to go to Legend, and you guys are, liked it so much you decided to settle there, for good. But you also mentioned that you've been considering maybe moving again, maybe going to some other shard. And I guess there's two questions here. The first one would be, how do you get an entire guild to just move? You have your house, you have all your gear, all your loot that you've accumulated over time. Even though now it's easier with the character transfer tokens where you don't have to leave all your stuff behind. Which wasn't the case, if I recall properly, at the time you guys moved to Legends like a year ago, correct?
Correct, exactly.
Okay, so that wasn't so bad then. But, how hard is it to get an entire guild to just pack up and leave? Because you do leave quite a bit behind, especially if you own a castle or a keep or whatever.
Well, first off, if we do move, if we do transfer to the shard, it's going to be a temporary thing, just for fighting and to fight other guilds and so on. It's not going to be a permanent thing. We like it on Legends, and like I said, a lot of people definitely have moved everything from GL over to here permanently. They no longer have houses on Great Lakes, so I don't plan on going anywhere else permanently. Like I said, we're comfortable with Legends. We're comfortable. Our ping times are really good. Everybody plays in a general area where, for where the server is. Now, the way we would go about doing it now is, for instance, say we said, okay, we're going to all, go to Atlantic and we're going to go fight Sakara's guild. Okay. What we do basically for a week is just do a bunch of horrors and spawns, sell the scrolls to a broker. I'd get a bunch of transfer tokens, and I'd give every person one transfer token to transfer a character over to, where we were going. Actually, there's a couple places where we were thinking about. We've already gotten a castle or keep ready to go there from a player that's already on that shard. So, we're pretty much, it's pretty organized. Like I said, we're not going to go into it with disorganized. We're going to basically if we make a decision, we can make it as a group. First off, it's not going to be like, okay, guys, we're moving to Atlantic tomorrow. get all your stuff ready, let's go. We're going to tell people, we can give them, some forewarning that we're probably going to be transferring. We don't know where yet, just to get ready, and just basically what character they would want to bring over. Majority, everybody in our guild has at least, 1 or 2 characters that that are able to fight with and stuff. So, for the most part, they would already have the transfer tokens ready to go. We'd already have a guild house set up. So basically, it's just getting organized and getting all your macros set. That's another thing that's irritating with the with the transferring is your macros get screwed up. I know you can copy them and save them and so on, but you still have to reset your targets and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not so bad. It's not as I don't see it as that much of a deterrent. After transferring to Legends, I was actually surprised how easy everything went. It went pretty smooth, to be honest with you.
And so you're saying you would go over to another shard. It would be a temporary thing. So would it be kind of like an FL thing where you go there and war everybody, or you would just go there to, do your own stuff and hopefully get some PvP action at the same time? And
we would
go ahead.
We would strictly go just for fighting somebody. It wouldn't be to it wouldn't be to go over there to do Trammel stuff or to do to work characters. We're going to go over there with characters that are finished, and we're going to be ready to fight. It's not going to be a thing where we're going over there. We're not really doing anything different than we're already doing. To be honest with you.
Player left. New player.
Okay.
Player left. New player.
Oh my God. What was it? Oh yeah. I was getting a blank here. I was forgetting the question I wanted to ask you. And so, should you do this? Would you actually, join, would you make an alliance or something if you were to go to a different shard, or would you just stick to your own gun?
Player left.
We would stick to our own gun. There's no other, we don't know, we're not really tight with any other guild that's on the other shard, to be honest. We're not in contact, so to speak, with anybody else. So, no, we would just, it'd be our own guild and that's it, to be honest with you. We have more than enough people within our guild to take care of whatever we need to take care of.
Alrighty. And my almost last question to you will be this. What are your plans in the long run for your guild? Where would you like you guys like to see yourself in a year or two or whatever? Do you have any grand plans, basically?
Honestly, I'm not really big for planning. I kind of take things day at a time. Honestly, the game is around. Yeah, I hope for sure that our guild is still around. I'm sure we will be. Just basically still having fun and enjoying the game at its fullest. That's the only reason why we play. Like I said, as for anything else, like I said, we don't. It ain't like a FL. You said you had mentioned the FL thing. We really don't do. We're not doing it to announce that we're going to come dominate your shard. It's nothing like that whatsoever. We just want to have fun fights. We want to have big fights and fun fights. Whoever wins wins. But hopefully we're the ones doing most of the winning.
On your shard currently, yeah, but it might be a whole different ball game on a different shard.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I know for one, I think Atlantic is pretty competitive over there. I know they get some huge guilds over there from what I've gathered, It would definitely be different because, it's different when there's only one or two guilds to fight at the most, but when it's 4 or 5, you're getting hit from every side. And usually, of course, the new guy in school, so to speak, is the one that gets to get picked on, So they usually are at the most unfair advantage possible,
No doubt about that one, definitely. Well, that actually completes it for me. I don't know if any of you guys would like to make a last little statement, or to the people that are listening.
Well, actually, I've enjoyed the interview. I have nothing else to add. I'm glad everybody that listened in. If they ever want to, hang out and game and talk about a few things or whatever, feel free to ask. It's easy to get into contact with me. I'm always running around somewhere, But for the most part, I enjoyed it. It was a pretty cool interview. Something different, definitely.
Awesome. And if somebody did want to contact you guys, or somebody from Legend decided, hey, they sound like a cool guild, and I might want to apply to join, do you have a website that they could go to?
Well, actually, right now Ursula can tell you that stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we do actually have a website, and there is a recruitment section that gives you an email to send in an application, and we review it there. The address to our website you can quite easily find on euro.com under the guild listings on Legends. It's all in there and very, very easy to find, player-friendly.
Well, there you go. And so I want to thank you two very much, even though Ursula was a little shy. But you have a very pleasant voice, Ursula. Too bad you didn't talk more. I'm sure the male listeners would have enjoyed it quite a bit. And I love your accent, for the record. I'm a sucker for accent, and your accent rules.
Trust me, it gets old after a while, though. I don't know how much they would have loved it if she would talk longer than what she did.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, you're still talking to me after a year, so, yeah, right.
There you go, Pone.
Anyway, what were you saying, Sagar?
I was saying it was a pleasure having you both for this interview, and so this was the interview of Absolute Corruption of Legends, and it was the GM Big Guns and council member Ursula the Shy, and so. Thank you once again, and for everyone else, don't forget next weekend we have another interview with the Hot Guild from Atlantic, and it's once again going to be Sunday from 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern, and if you have questions, as usual, you're welcome to ask them in our IRC channel. And next Saturday we will be also having our usual talk show, also from 5 to 7. So do not hesitate to tune in. So this is DJ Sakara signing off, and thanking you once again for listening, and thanking once again the Absolute Corruption Guild of Legends. Goodbye, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks.